effective weapon. Ah! Greetings, and welcome to another installment of the Ability Almanac. You know me as Brian of Chamber of the Wraith, and today we will be looking at all 9 Batman abilities in Injustice 2. 9! Only Wonder Woman has more abilities than Batman. And Batman has a lot of hoops to jump through with his abilities. What I mean by that is, his abilities kind of are weird in that one of his moves, Scatter Bombs, gets replaced by 2 moves that are single slot. So in theory, you could have a move that replaces Scatter Bombs, and then another move that replaces Scatter Bombs, but not the other move, which you will see momentarily. He also has 2 different 2-slot abilities, which made things very difficult for me to put them all in one loadout, or all in all the loadouts. So I had to get a little bit creative with loadout 3 to show you them all. Other than that, without further ado, let's have a look at Bruce's arsenal and see what he's truly capable of in Injustice 2. Now, as many of you will know, Batman is returning from the original Injustice. And what's very interesting about that is that outside of his straight Batarang and his counter animation being changed, nothing else has really changed about Batman except for his fight pose. Seriously, you have no idea how many people were pissed about how he stood in the old Injustice. But now, with some of his abilities, he gained some new tricks, like a Demolition Sonya-esque wake-up in evading Bat. This is a special move that drops explosive Batarangs down and causes them to explode when the opponent tries to come in and hit you. He also can get his old parry back from Injustice 1, which, by the way, is actually move for move an instant takedown animation from the Batman Arkham games. Don't believe me? Have a look. See what I mean? The similarity is uncanny. And I believe that's because once upon a time, NetherRealm Studios actually did a Batman Arkham City mobile game working with Rocksteady Studios. Yeah, that was their second ever game, if I recall correctly. A mobile version of Batman Arkham City. In fact, it had a Kano cameo in that game. But back on track. We have now the Bat Strike, an alternate version of Batman's trait, and the first of 2 2-slot abilities that he has. As you can see, the bats hover around the opponent instead of around Batman. But you cannot trigger when the bats go off. They will go off after a set amount of time, I believe about a second or so. And that even works even with only 1 bat. It's worth noting, of course, that this is questionable whether it's worth being 2 slots because it hovers around the opponent, and it could take some getting used to in order to get the combos out with something that you have to detonate within a second. Now is where things get interesting. With Loadout 3, I have both abilities that I've had to kind of shuffle around. First up is the Air Downward Batarang. This completely replaces your aerial sparks, down, back, medium, and as you can see, it's a slower thing where the Batarang comes down. The thing is that you can't meter burn the Batarangs like you can on the ground, nor can you do it with its air straight counterpart. And you can also see that Batman can meter burn his counter now with his advanced counter / advanced parry ability. It does a little more damage with the normal counter, and either way, you can combo off of it with the bats. It takes me several attempts, but I do get it to work. And it is worth noting that the meter burn version of the counter launches the opponent higher into the air, probably to make it a little easier to pull off those combos in theory, but I'm an absolute scrub, so there was no way I was going to get this easily. Now, we have to move on to part 2 of the 3rd loadout. I know, it's going to get a little bit crazy, but stick with me here, folks. Now, the first of these alterations that I do have to make mention of is with the alternate parry, you can meter burn it so that the second headbutt launches the opponent. You're sacrificing quite a bit of damage for this. You're sacrificing about 1/3 of your damage from the parry. But you can get more damage off of it because, hey, parry combos! Woo! But in comparison to the other parry, it doesn't quite have the utility because with the bats, I wasn't able to show this, unfortunately, in the time that I had to record. But with the bats, if you unleash the bats as you combo or counter, you kind of get locked out of it and knocked down, and then it's just all kinds of bad. Be right back for the other part for loadout 3. And finally, we get to the double aerial batarang combo. Woohoo! Both of these air batarangs replaces your scatter sparks, which is really weird because air straight batarang is a different input altogether. It would make sense to have air straight and the scatter bombs, but I guess not. It's very interesting to note because the air straight batarang, like the straight batarang on the ground, is a high. So instant airing is going to be rather difficult because your opponent can just be like, lol, duck, lol, duck, and just keep moving on through. Whereas your air downward batarang sacrifices range for being a mid, so take it as you will, I guess? Moving on to loadout 4 with some other interesting gear abilities. Whew, we're finally on the tail end of this one, folks. Batman's got a lot of gear abilities to work with. Do you like how the tournament shader looks on the billionaire skin? I just need the billionaire belt and then I'll have gold batarangs. Speaking of batarangs, this loadout has some interesting augments to the batarangs again. This time with the dual batarangs. This is his old batarang toss from Injustice 1. You can't meter burn it, but it's basically a free armor burn, so it kind of makes sense. Now, instead of exploding, the new up batarang meter burn is a super fast, like as soon as you meter burn, you can move, thing where the batarang boomerangs back, clocking the opponent upside the head for combo potential. Or for easier combo potential, rather, instead of the exploding batarang. So instead of popping up your opponent, you get a grounded means of starting your combo with an air upwards batarang. And it does have limited tracking of a sort. Like, it will track where your opponent is on meter burn, but as soon as the batarang kind of loops around, it will stop tracking. So it's not a good way of tracking opponents that are already falling from the sky while they're airborne, because this batarang will probably miss them. Whereas if you do it on the ground, it's a great way to continue your grounded combos if you play with gear. Keep in mind that most of the people that I know of who play this game, at least at a semi-competitive level, don't like playing with gear. If you like playing with gear, that's totally fine, but some people I know don't. Now you'll notice that things are getting interesting with the batarangs. Why are they shocking people? Well, that is the second gear ability that requires 2 slots that is way better, in my opinion, than Bat Strike. Taser Rangs. All batarangs that explode will shock the opponent once, allowing you for a single free combo. If you try and do it twice in a combo, they just fall out of it, and it's kind of treated like a normal explosion that just so happens to be blue. Hence the blue shader with Batman. And this works for all batarangs that explode, not just the meter burn batarangs. You can do it with meter burn straight batarang, meter burn upward batarang. You can do it with meter burn slide, and you can even do it with back medium light, or is it back medium heavy? I think it's back medium heavy, where he slams it down, rolls back, and the batarangs shock him. And you can continue for combos for days, usually for just a single bar of meter. It's ridiculous. And that's why this gear ability makes sense to be 2-slot, because good lord, could you imagine if this was only a single slot? Some of these batarangs, or some of these batarang augments would be broken, even more so than they are now. Like, take the Wake Up back. Remember that one from before where he takes the batarangs and slams them down on Wake Up? Now imagine if you had a combo starter on Wake Up. That is ridiculous. And as always, the following will be frame data for everything. This is going to take a while to go through, so don't be afraid to sit down and grab some popcorn to read through this if you like reading. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you really like the ability Almanacs. Don't worry, I do have a 50 subscriber special coming up. I know, 50 subscribers. Woo! But don't worry about it, guys. I should have announced what the video topic is by the time this goes up, and if not, it will be coming up really, really soon. I hope you enjoy, and as always, DFTBA.